Imagine this. You wake up early in the morning filled with excitement. You quickly get up and get ready for your day before heading out the door. Where are you off to in such a hurry, you might be wondering? Well, you're going skydiving. That's right, you're gonna fling yourself out of a plane at 14,000 feet and plummet towards the earth at 120 miles per hour, while your only means of defense against death is a large piece of fabric attached to some string. Doesn't seem very safe, does it? Well, depending on how you look at it, driving can be considered more dangerous than jumping out of an airplane, and is generally the most dangerous day-to-day activity that we partake in. This brings us to today's question. Just how dangerous is it to travel by car? So, how safe or unsafe is driving a car? Well, to answer this question, we can look to our friend, the micromort. What's a micromort? Coined by Professor Ronald A. Howard, is a unit of risk defined as a 1 in a million chance of death. If you have a 1 in a million chance of dying while doing something, that activity would be equal to 1 micromort of risk. For example, scuba diving is about equal to 5 micromorts of risk per dive. Or you could say you have a 5 in 1 million chance of dying each time you scuba dive. I personally think it's more exciting if you think of micromorts as risk coins that you spend on an activity. Every time you do something such as base jumping or riding a bike, you spend a certain amount of risk coins to do that activity. The more micromort coins that the activity costs, the more likely you are to die while doing it. So, how many micromorts does traveling by car cost? According to Professor David Spiegelhalter at the University of Cambridge, 250 miles of traveling by car cost about 1 micromort. Based on data from the United States Department of Transportation, in 2018, the average person drove 37 miles per day. This means, on average, in 2018, a person spent about 0.15 micromort coins to drive each day. In comparison, skydiving costs about 9 micromorts per jump. Riding a motorcycle costs 1 micromort per 6 miles traveled, and ascending Mount Everest costs a whopping 37,932 micromort coins. Now, I know what you're thinking, but earlier you said that driving was more dangerous than skydiving. How is that true if driving only costs 0.15 micromorts per day while skydiving costs 9 per jump? Well, you see, it kinda depends on how you look at it. Yes, a one-time event of driving around the block is safer than going skydiving a single time. However, if you compare driving and skydiving over a long period of time, you'll find that driving is actually more dangerous because we do it way more often. For example, let's say you average 37 miles by car every single day for 20 years. After 20 years, you'll have spent 1,095 micromort coins. In comparison, to spend the same amount of micromort coins skydiving, you'll need to skydive 122 times. That's a little more than 6 jumps per year. People are just way more likely to travel by car than jump out of an airplane. So, now we know how risky traveling by car is on a day-to-day basis. But what about in your entire lifetime? What are the chances that you will eventually die by traveling in a car? From 1994 to 2019, there were 914,165 fatalities involving motor vehicle traffic crashes in the United States. 749,489 of these fatalities were occupants of a vehicle. This gives us an average of 28,826 vehicle occupant fatalities per year. With an average population of 299 million during this time frame, that's about equal to 1 fatality per 10,000 people. According to the National Safety Council, an American has a 1 in 107, or about a 1% chance of dying in a motor vehicle accident in their entire lifetime. In comparison, you have about a 1 in 500,000 chance of dying while skydiving. Now, this all might sound kind of terrifying to some of you. You might be thinking, a 1% chance of death from an activity we do almost every single day? And you're right, that's not a statistic to scoff at. There's also nothing wrong with these statistics making you a little more afraid of driving. After all, fear is a natural emotion, and it's what keeps us alive. I would, however, argue that instead of allowing yourself to be afraid of driving, allow these statistics to make yourself just a little more mindful of your current driving practices. For example, if you don't normally wear a seatbelt or you have a tendency to speed, take some action, make a change. Even the simple act of putting on a seatbelt can drastically increase your odds of surviving a potentially deadly car accident. Let's take a quick look at what you can do to make driving safer. So, what can you do to make driving safer? For starters, wear a seatbelt. I promise that no one thinks you're cool by not wearing one. According to the National Highway and Safety Administration, wearing a seatbelt reduces the risk of death by 45% and reduces the chance of serious injury by 50%. Don't allow yourself to become a human missile. Not texting while driving is another big one. Nearly 25% of all car accidents are caused by texting and driving. And texting and driving is 6 times more likely to cause an accident compared to drunk driving. Speaking of drunk driving, don't do it! In the United States, around 28 people are killed in drunk driving crashes every single day. That's equal to 1 person every 52 minutes. Drunk drivers also account for 1/3 of all traffic crash fatalities in the United States. Don't become a statistic. Practice safe driving. Armed with this knowledge, I hope you may allow yourself to be a little more mindful of your current driving practices. And for those of you who are not yet old enough to drive, I hope this information will better prepare you for the day you get behind the wheel for the first time. Well, that's all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing to the channel and giving the video a like. If you have an idea or suggestion for a future video, comment the idea down below. If your idea is chosen, you'll be featured in the video.